Hey guys, welcome to Ridiculous Radio. I'm your host Conrad. Josh and Keith are still busy. Keith's been busy working, and Josh is actually in Myrtle Beach this week, so he won't be joining us. But wanted to talk about this Yellow Annie a little bit before our guest for the night shows up. I ended up this thing's only 2 weeks old and already on frozen thawed, and it's genuinely curious. It's not a real defensive snake. Um, I mean, I've been handling it quite a bit to keep it that way, keep it in like the curious stage of life. And so tonight's guest will be Once Upon a Time. I mean, we're really looking forward to it. Or Once Upon a While, my bad. We're really looking forward to it. They do like YouTube shows, or they do live streams, like they do classroom shows and stuff. I gotta email her the link. Hold on. Hold on, guys. Let me get back to this. Sorry about that. So I had to just email her the link real quick. I mean, this dude isn't really nipped at me at all. I mean, I've been hook training them kind of like you would a retic. Every time I go to pull them out, and if I'm not feeding them, I use the hook to kind of let them know first. But he is definitely an awesome animal. I don't know if you guys can check out his really dark, bold patterning. He's actually 75% yellow and 25% green. His dad was a 50-50 yellow-green hybrid. And his mom was 100% yellow. But I figured I would just work with him. Oh, fun things that happened today. I ended up burning my arm pretty good on our lawnmower exhaust. That was sweet. Who doesn't love messing themselves up at work? Sorry, just kind of. I've noticed that they don't like it if you try and like pick them up from above. I always want to like kind of go underneath of them and scoop them up. I think it makes them feel more secure, and they don't really look at you as like a predator at that point, something that wants to eat them. And this live stream is unofficially sponsored by Monster. Dude, it's crazy. So my buddy Jesse, he produced these. You know, I've known Jesse for probably 20 years now. He used to be really good friends with my older brother when I was a kid. And he sent me pictures once he got home, and I told him, I'm like, man, I definitely want one. But now I'm seeing like a lot of my like mutual Facebook friends like all across the United States actually got one too. Technical difficulty, guys. Technical difficulties. I mean, when I was there picking out my snake from Jesse, I watched him get nipped like a bunch of times. Let's see if it's in the sun. Oh. It's weird. Why is it cued? Excuse me. It keeps saying it's cued. Uh-oh. Sorry about this, guys. Give me 1 second. Fuck. It says it's sending. Cool, it's sent. Nice. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. That's a pain in the ass. Hopefully, you guys are doing its best. Not just this dope ass anaconda. What should you want to? But what do you guys want your next pickup to be? Comment below. I know that's still a secret now. Oh, here she is. All right, what is going on with the layout now? This is weird. Hold on. Looks like we're once again experiencing technical difficulties. This is really, really, really.
Hey guys.
Oh, how's it going?
Good, good.
So, guys, this is
Here.
Dan Winter with Once Upon a Wild, right?
It's once in a wild. Here it is. Once in a wild. I'm
All right.
gonna try to lean back so you can see me better.
All right.
I'm
So,
gonna up next to my axolotl.
oh, yeah, good. So, what caused you to get into reptiles? Just out of
Well,
curiosity.
that probably started from birth. I grew up running around the backyard looking for lizards and things and everything. I mean, going to the zoo here in town. I'm San Antonio native, born and raised. My grandmother used to take me to the zoo, and my parents used to take me to the zoo and all kinds of animal parks. Loved it from the beginning. I love all animals. I like everything, but snakes and reptiles are my favorite. But honestly, from a little kid, just running around looking for herps from as soon as or back as far as I can remember. I was 3 or 4 years old, honestly. So, and then I just met the right people, I think, and got into it even more.
Do you have a lifer that you still haven't found that's native to you?
I what? I didn't hear you.
A lifer, like one that you've always wanted to find and still haven't?
Oh, not
It was
really.
wise.
I'm not much into herping anymore. I used to love just kind of finding whatever, and I love to go and take photos of everything in nature. But not really. Nothing comes to mind. But I used to look for all kinds of things, whatever I could find. I just like everything equally. I love venomous snakes. They're my favorite. All the hot stuff.
All right, yeah, I definitely understand that. So, so once in a while, what gave you the idea to start doing that? And could you tell us a little bit about what that's all about?
Sure. So Once in a Wild is our company, and we're here in San Antonio, Texas, in the South Texas area. And we're basically a mobile zoo. So we're an educational group that takes animals, including reptiles, amphibians, but we also include mammals and birds and arachnids and things like that. We have all kinds of things. And we bring them to classrooms and parties and all kinds of things. But we're based in education. We like to make sure that everybody gets an education when we're there. We want to advocate for animals and make sure people don't kill snakes and things. That was kind of my main motivation was just to go back a little bit. So long time ago, I was a little kid. I loved animals, but I actually went to school out of high school for photography. I really fell in love with photography and everything. And I also, make sure my camera's on. I also got my first degree in photography, fine arts, and kind of decided to not do that anymore and went back to school for zoology, started working in zoos and all kinds of things. And that really kind of fueled my want to kind of be on my own and have my own company instead. And I really fell in love with animal education, animal training, hands-on, teaching the public, talking to people, because, you know, not every zookeeper talks to the public, but I found jobs that do, and I really fell in love with that. So kind of just, you know, branching off on our own was a big decision that we made about a year and a half ago. And, you know, something I've always wanted to do, to be honest with you. So I was always inspired by like people like Steve Irwin and things like that reached a lot of people through talking about animals. So that was kind of my motivation initially, but it's been kind of been a long time coming. I've dreamed about this for a long time.
All right. So how has I know you guys have definitely been affected by like the coronavirus and COVID and everything. How has that like how you guys want to talk about like ways that you've adapted to like overcome that?
Sure. It's definitely affected us really, really bad. Like I said, we opened up just about a year or so ago, year and a half ago is when we kind of started, and then we figured out what our company was going to look like and what our, you know, our mission statement was going to be, all the things, you know, to kind of get started, bare bones of it. And we really got going last March, or like I would say February. Made a whole lot of appointments, made a whole lot of things on our schedule that we had to totally cancel. We're based in person. That's how we were going to basically be. It was just in person encounters, because the best thing to do is to have the animals in front of people. That's how you inspire them, right? So that especially herps, because people are afraid of them. So if you give them a good experience, then they're fine with it usually. So that was kind of what we started at. And as soon as COVID hit, of course, we had to cancel everything. We couldn't be in person anymore. I did a lot of crying. I was pretty upset about that. I worked really, really hard to get a lot of gigs, and unfortunately, they all fell through. But we decided after a couple of days of kind of like, what are we going to do? Are we going to close, or what are we going to do? We had the idea to go on live streams instead. So instead of closing, we started just putting out a bunch of videos for free. And that's what we do the majority of right now. Unfortunately, we're kind of, doing a lot of pro bono stuff right now, just to kind of spread the word about who we are and make sure people know us. But we're also doing Zoom encounters, so people can actually hire us to do classroom encounters or parties or whatever we could still do through Zooms. So we started doing our virtual encounters. That's how we adapted. But it was a huge, big adjustment and a lot of emotion to get there.
What assortment of animals do you guys typically have to bring to, like, let's say if you didn't have to cancel your show to school, what would you guys take?
We have all kinds of stuff, and it kind of depends on what the class is studying or what people request. I usually try to leave it up to the people that hire me to decide what animals, but we have mammals that are more hands-on. We've got a rabbit, we've got guinea pigs, we have ferrets. We also have hedgehogs too. And then we have our birds, which are cockatiels and doves that the little kids can hold and get to know as well. Those are really fun. We also have wood ducks. That's a new animal that we just got not too long ago. I got some ducklings, and I'm raising them up to be part of the zoo as well. They're in training right now. They're doing really good. And we have all kinds of herps.
Sorry, are those like the Oriental wood ducks, like the really?
They're common wood ducks, the ones that would be right here from the United States. So we have them in our zoo now. Yeah, they're really cool. We think we have a male and 2 females right now, so hopefully the male will show his colors soon, but they're still very young, so we're doing our best to guess that that's a male. So their plumage is still changing right now. They're still juveniles, but those are very new, so I'm hoping to do some training with them, like flight training. That's part of my background, is doing flighted bird training. All our birds are flighted, and they do flights. We also have tortoises. I have an iguana. I have a tegu. I'm trying to think of the big stuff. The axolotl is really fun to sometimes set up in a classroom. Very, very kind of unique. Not many people have axolotls in education. And then we have all kinds of snakes. We don't have any hot snakes, but they're all snakes that are safe to be around. We have all kinds of lizards. A lot of our animals are rescues over the years that I've adopted. So we have we have arachnids. So I have some scorpions, spiders, and I have also some inverts, some Madagascar hissing cockroaches. So we have a good variety of things, and we're always looking to grow. As soon as we're able to financially, we'll be able to have bigger property and be able to have larger mammals and larger birds as well. We're looking forward to that.
That'd be super cool. What are you guys looking to like expand on with? Do you have anything that you're already like, well, I really want to add this, but can't because of space, or what would that
totally
be?
So I've worked with a lot of program animals that I would love to have again in our zoo here. I would love Tamandua anteaters. You know what those are?
Yeah, those are really cool.
Yeah, they're my favorite mammals. So I would love to have a Tamandua. I would love to have a porcupine, a kangaroo or 2. I would love to have, a whole lot of things. So many dreams. I like emus. Emus would be a cool one to work with people coming over to get an experience with emus. All kinds of birds. I want to raise some unusual birds too that aren't always in programs. I love parrots, but parrots are really noisy and also in every education group. So I kind of want to do something different. So we're kind of thinking about what animals we want to invite into our lives, but especially, because we don't have the space, we only have, that's partially why I picked wood ducks, is because they're smaller and they're quiet. So with our property now, we have neighbors, so we have to be a little quieter. But the wood ducks are really, nobody notices them at all. They're doing well.
All right. So where are you guys hoping to be with like the shows? Are you guys hoping to be back in schools next year, or do you think that, I mean, this is mainly going to be an online thing from now on? I mean, how's that all?
That's a really good question. It's still up in the air. I would love to be in person all the time. However, it is kind of good that this happened in a way because it forced us to do the virtual encounters too, because I don't think I would have necessarily leaned that way, except for maybe to have some YouTube videos and educational things like that. We already had social media. We're on Instagram and Facebook and all the things. So we were already there to kind of get a following and let people know about us. It's free advertising, so it's great. But it was cool that this happened because it kind of forced me out of my comfort zone. But I think a bit of both. I think it's really neat to be able to outreach to anybody all over the world. I've done programs all over the place now for people that have hired me. I did one in Ecuador, which was really cool. I do them all over the country now. And so that's awesome. I can teach people all over the place. But absolutely both. I would love to have, this year or the next year, have a team of staff that is able to help me do programs, whether it be in person or virtually as well. So both, absolutely both.
All right. And do you guys ever see it where you guys would have let's say groups come in and you do a show at your facility, or?
Yeah, we were actually just talking about this not too long ago, and we brought it up a couple of times. Like, where are we, what is the once in a while difference? Like, how are we going to be different than other, not necessarily zoos, because we're a zoo, but we're different than a zoo. We're a zoological facility, but we're not. I don't know if we'll ever be like a huge zoo. Who knows? I mean, maybe someday we'll be like the Irwins and go from family owned to huge zoo. You never know. So I'm not saying never, but that's not necessarily our goal right now. So we are thinking about either having a rental place where we can rotate animals, where people can come in and have experiences for like events, or on our property if it's done in a safe way. That's the concern there, is having people on our property safely and make sure we're safe and the animals are safe. So it's kind of up in the air for now, especially with our finances right now with COVID and everything. But yeah, I mean, we're open to trying to figure out what that might look like in the future. But I think that would be really neat to have a place where people can come to us as well, because some of the animals are not going to be suited to travel. And even now we have some animals that aren't comfortable 100% with doing that every time. So like chameleons and things like that. We have chameleon. And as you know, chameleons are a little bit nervous traveling. Some of them are okay, now and then, but it's not something we want to do all the time. They're not a bearded dragon. So it'd be neat to have them come see them, as opposed to, or like emus. I mentioned getting emus. It's going to be a little hard to travel with emus. Maybe we can, but maybe big events or something like that. But it'd be neat to have people come to us as well. So maybe there'll be different things that people can do. The sky's the limit, I guess.
All right. And then you put on like live streams with, what is it, Once Upon a Time, or?
Oh,
and what's
yeah.
What's that like? How did that start off? I mean,
so
when did you guys?
Yeah. Once Upon a Party is another company in San Antonio. Yeah, they're actually here in the same city that we're in. So I think that we reached out to them. My fiance and I own the company together once in a while, so I think he reached out to them initially just to see if we could collaborate in some way, but that was before COVID, and we kind of talked about like how we could do parties together, because they're a Disney based and Marvel and all the characters. They do cosplay for kids and whoever. And it would be neat to have like an animal element, because so many Disney characters have to do with animals, and they were super into it. They loved the idea. And then COVID happened, and both our companies kind of had to, sit back and think about what we were going to do. And so they did a really good job as well with developing virtual encounters for their audience, which I think that's pretty impressive because they don't even have animals, but they still have a big audience and a following. So they're able to still make money somehow with virtual encounters, which is pretty cool. But we got back together and we were texting each other and we said, hey, let's try it. Let's do a virtual encounter on Facebook, and we did, and it ended up being really, really popular. We did, our first one was Moana. We're about to do a Spider-Man one too, which will be a lot of fun. But yeah, they were super into it. I think it was meant to be. We even have the same backdrop color, which I thought was hilarious. Like, this is a paper backdrop, and they have a curtain.
I didn't know. I don't know if that was coordinated or because
Nope.
I tuned in for that one. I was trying to get my
Oh,
daughter
cute.
to watch it. So
Oh, very good. It turned out really good. We did a preview first for their private group, and it turned out really nice. And then we did another one with Moana. And yeah, it wasn't coordinated. We just happened to have the same color scheme, which is hilarious. So that's how that worked out. We've just been reaching out to all kinds of people to see who we can partner with to get our name out there and be as well known as we can be, because then you get more customers, obviously. So, and we want to outreach to everybody too. It's not just about the money. It's, we want to make sure everybody has a good experience. So, and a lot of the events are free, with tips basically, and that's it.
So, what kind of snakes do you guys have for your shows? What you guys?
Well,
we have already mentioned that.
Yeah, my favorite are calibrids. I don't have anything too large yet, because when I started recollecting, long story short, I used to have a collection years and years ago. That collection went away a long time ago, long story short. So I started recollecting once we realized, we were going to start doing this. I was like, well, snakes have to be a big part of it because that's my favorite. And I think snakes are really important to talk about because people are afraid of them, as you know, and we need to advocate for snakes and wildlife, all kinds of wildlife. And I like to teach people about invasive species as well. It's one of my passions too. But anyway, so the snakes that I've collected now, see if I can remember them all. I have 13 snakes. So I have, my newest one is a Woma. I got a Woma python not too long ago. It was a gift, actually. I have a very, very big and beautiful California king snake who is totally tame and awesome. And then I have a desert king snake who is not tame and will eat your fingers. So I use him actually for feeding demonstrations sometimes. He's actually in the live stream sometimes doing a feeding demo, which is really cool. A lot of people don't do feeding demos in their educational groups, which I found weird because it's easy. But anyway, and then I have a couple of ball pythons. Got to have some ball pythons. We have 3 of those. We have a piebald, an ivory, and a pistave. And then we have, what else? I have a good old Okatee corn snake. Got to have one of those. I have a Chinese beauty snake. Love him. And who else? I feel like I'm forgetting somebody. Oh, I've got 2 Texas Baird's rat snakes. I've got a pair of them. They're just babies right now. I would like to breed them later because I love Texas Baird's and Mexican Baird's, one of my favorites. I think I'm forgetting something. We have a good variety, though. We have a whole lot of things. I like to have, I have a red-tailed boa as well. That's our largest snake right now. He's still half grown. He's a hypo Colombian red tail. Or I guess he's a Colombian boa, not really a red tail. They don't call them red tails anymore. That's wrong. Not a true red tail, but he's a Colombian boa. He's a hypo, so it's pretty red in the tail. So, and I think that's it.
Pretty sweet. What made you guys steer away from like the larger constrictors? I mean, for the most part, they can be pretty docile, and they're just.
It's just because I don't have any yet. It's not because I don't want them. And it's room. It's just having more room. I just need a little bit more room in our facility. Right now, we're a home facility. So I have a big old tegu. It's a Colombian tegu. So she's not too enormous, and she's a female. So she's in a big 200-gallon sized enclosure. That's our largest enclosure that I have right now. So I just need to have more room. That's the only reason. I'm not opposed at all to having a big old snake. I love large constrictors too. Not a problem at all. Just don't have the room. The Colombian will be pretty big once he's full grown. And then maybe I'll get a berm or a retic or something like that, depending on our size facility that we have or enclosures right now. But that's the only reason. I love them too.
All right. Yeah, because I mean, I just didn't know if it was because you were nervous about bringing larger constrictors around kids, or I mean,
Nah.
some people are, and I mean, some people aren't. You know, my
No, I
kids
don't have a problem with
help
it. I
me
have
like with
students. Yeah,
snakes.
I've
You
been
know what
working
I
with
mean? So,
yeah, totally. I've been working with snakes forever, so I don't have a problem with that at all. Not at all. Maybe a big old doom rolls or something like that. I would love to have another doom rolls as well. That'd be cool. But no.
oh, yeah, doom rolls would be nice, especially for a show. So, you brought the Exoto line. Did you wanna? We haven't really had one on yet. So did you wanna like kind of go over like your care and how you would present that in a show, maybe?
Sure, the axolotl. So this is Ghost. She's a golden albino axolotl. She's a female and she is about 4 years old. So these guys, of course, they need fresh water. I use a very low, what do you call it? Low stream filter. It's not very high pressure, low pressure filter on them. Right now, she's just in a display. This is not where she lives. She's gonna live in a, I think she's in a 30-gallon upstairs. And these guys do well on a diet of sinking carnivore pellets, as well as earthworms, as well as some treats here and there of different things. They like their pellets pretty well, so that's not really a problem. And occasional earthworms. I wish they ate the worms better, but they just don't. I don't know why. Some do and some don't. We've got 3 of them, and they're all different. We have a golden albino, a melanistic, and then just a normal axolotl. I like to show the differences sometimes so people, especially kids, can see a difference between an albino and a normal, because the albino doesn't make sense with their natural history being, not camouflaged. So when I talk about them with their natural history, people go, well, it's not going to blend into anything. I'm like, well, but she's weird. That's not normal. But I love to talk about their conservation. Oh, and of course their cold temperature. So I have to keep them cooler. We usually do so with fans. We don't usually use any kind of chiller or anything like that. The fans work really well to keep their temperatures down. They need the cooler the better, and we live in Texas, so it's pretty hot here, so I try to keep their room a little cooler. I also do have a little portable air conditioner that I sometimes use on them, and especially if they're traveling somewhere and it's hot, etc. These guys actually travel pretty good. They're a lot better than fish. They don't need any filtration to hang out for a while. They do well just being like this. And but I love to talk about their conservation because they're critically endangered in the natural environment. As you probably know, these guys are from the Xochimilco River Canal system in Mexico City, and that's the only place they're found. And so already having that small natural environment, they're going to have a lot of pressure on them in the wild. So they're critically endangered. I think they're going to be extinct in the wild very soon, unfortunately. Their depletion in numbers has been extraordinary over the last 20 years. I think they went from 6,000 per square kilometer to about 35 per square kilometer in 20-year time. So it's really, really bad. And that's, of course, mostly due to pollution. Of course, like most amphibians that are endangered, they suffer from pollution, and they're the first to actually be affected by pollution and trash, and also invasive species. These guys are affected by invasive species. I know she's not showing her face, just her tail, but they're affected by carp and tilapia that were released into the river systems in Mexico City a long time ago for fishing purposes for mankind. Very, very selfish. So those guys eat the axolotls and their natural prey as well. Of course, scientists out there and conservationists out there are studying them, trying to clean up the environment. They're actually removing some of them, breeding them in, as much as they can in the care of humans there at their facilities in Mexico City, and little by little kind of figuring out how they can clean up their environment. But they're not going to re-release them back into the same area until it's clean. So it's a great conservation message to talk about amphibians, which are suffering all over the planet. And also global warming is affecting them too, because they're a cold weather species that loves cool temperatures in their waters. So that's another thing against them. They have everything against them, but they're fantastic. And what's great about axolotls is they breed really well in the care of humans. So they're probably never going to go extinct as long as we're breeding them, right, as humans. So many zoos breed them. I don't breed them myself, but many zoos and scientists breed them. And they're bred in and kept in scientific type scenarios where they're studying them. You probably know that. They can regenerate their limbs and all things, their organs. They can even regenerate their brain if part of their brain is severed and part of their head is severed. They can actually regenerate that. So a lot of scientists are studying those properties in their bodies to see if they can apply them to us, which is kind of terrifying because I don't know if we're going to end up with like superpowers or not for that study, right? Like Wolverine or something, which could be good and bad. Maybe we might be X-Men in the future, but that's why they're studying them, among other reasons. They're pretty amazing creatures. And they're actually very easy to take care of in captivity as well. I love them. They're one of my favorites.
All right, that's really good to know. We actually have someone commenting, Going You for Fits family constrictors comment said his wife wants one of them. So
yeah, they're super cool. I don't recommend getting a baby because sometimes they refuse food. But if you get like a juvenile and up, like a good substantially sized, just like almost every herp, right? You get a substantially sized one, you're probably gonna do well with them. But some of the babies tend to just refuse food, and unless it's like junk food, so they'll eat things like mealworms and bloodworms, but they won't eat their actual diet. And so a lot of the babies actually don't grow very fast if they refuse their main diet. But as you can see, Ghost is a fatty, so she doesn't refuse her food. And I did raise her up from a baby, but that's from trial and error. That's what I would recommend if you're going to get one. Just get an adult because they live a long time. So they're going to live 15, 20 plus years. So getting a baby isn't going to make much difference there on their lifespan. She's so cute. They're great. They have a lot of personality. They're better than fish. What do you have?
Awesome.
You have a snake?
Do I?
Yeah, you have something. I see it.
Yeah. Sorry. This whole time I got my baby yellow Annie. I'm just, confidence handling with them. They are kind of offensive species, but I've only had them for like a week and still haven't been nipped. He's 2 weeks old and he's already on frozen thawed. So
good, awesome. Did you breed them or did you acquire them?
I acquired this one from a buddy who produced them.
Awesome.
So
I like them. I think they're beautiful.
yeah, I mean it is a hybrid. His dad was a 50-50 yellow green Annie, and mom was 100% yellow, so he is a 25% green.
Oh no way! I didn't even know that was a thing. To be honest with you, I had no idea.
So it's that like bolder pattern.
Yeah, I see.
You can see in the greens more than in the yellows. So
at first, when you were holding it, it's so small, like from back here, I thought maybe it was a desert king snake for a hot second.
No, just yes, yeah. I've never owned colubrids.
Oh,
honestly,
really?
in my whole really, I don't know why. Like you mentioned your Taiwan beauty snake, I think you said, or Asian beauty snake.
The Chinese.
Chinese one. I've always wanted one because it's gorgeous.
Yeah,
I don't know why. I've always stuck to like my pythons and my heavier bodied snakes. I just
I don't know if you can see. I don't know if you can see, but it's too bright, but that's a photo of him. I didn't bring him today. I brought another snake to meet you guys, but
all right. Yeah, if you want to bust them out, I mean, we can.
I mentioned I got this Woma. I went ahead and brought the Woma because I'm so excited to have her.
Oh, I bet not too many people actually.
No,
it doesn't seem like people keep them, and they are really gorgeous. So
I have no idea why. I've always wanted one. They used to be really expensive, and now they're really affordable. And this one was a gift from a dear friend of mine, Patrick Holmes. And this is from Greg Power over in DFW. He bred these guys, and this one's just about a month or so old. I'm so excited to have her. We think it's a her. We did the best inspection we could at this age, but we'll see. Time will tell with the gender, but we think it's a girl. So pretty.
So what does care for Womas look like?
This is my first Woma personally, but I've cared for them in zoos before. But they're pretty easy. They're usually have a really, really good appetite, so that's nice. This one is, I think, still eating. Well, was still eating live prey, but I got it to eat the other night, a frozen thawed hopper, which is nice because it's just a tiny baby and it's already eating pretty substantial prey, which is nice. These guys are dry. They don't need a whole lot of like misting or anything. Probably a good soak every now and then if they need it. But they usually shed pretty good. Not a problem there. They're very sweet. So that's not a problem. They do get pretty big, as you know. They're slender bodied, so they're not like enormous or anything, but they're a good substantial size, and they're also active. So it's kind of like a big king snake or something. They're always going to be like wandering around. She's very active at night. So it is going to need, to be happy, quite a larger enclosure than like a snake of the same width, but they're longer. So they're more long than fat, but their care is very easy. I mean, they need a bit of a hot spot. I'm just using a heat mat for now with this one. I'm getting enough heat that way. It's summertime as well, so it's pretty warm in our herp room. So that's not really a problem. But as far as I know, they're pretty simple to take care of. And in fact, they used to be really sought after and very expensive because they're really no problem. Some of them can be nippy, but I've never known one that was aggressive, like really aggressive, or anything like that. So not worried about it. It's going to be exciting.
All right. Yeah, they are really sweet. Yeah. I don't know. I've thought about getting into them. And for whatever reason, I've never like quite pulled the trigger on one yet. So
yeah, I didn't expect this present. Somebody shipped it to me, and I was like, "What is this?" Like, he told me he was shipping me something, so you never know what it could be. He did ask me ahead of time, like, "Hey, do you have room for another, smaller animal?" I was like, "Yeah, of course I do." I'm not gonna say no, but it was a pleasant surprise. Another one of my dream snakes is actually an indigo snake as well, as I'm sure a lot of people really want one. They're one of my absolute favorites as well. But they're kind of the equivalent size to these guys. Indigos are a little bit larger than a Woma, but a Woma can get pretty large in that way. So totally different care, but
oh, for sure. So have you ever found a Woma?
Found one?
Not a Woma. I mean an indigo. Sorry. I mean, have you ever found a indigo while out herping?
I don't know. I definitely haven't, but I used to work with them when I lived in Florida. I actually went to school out in Florida, and I worked with them at that facility there. Absolutely fell in love with them. And of course, I've handled them here and there at herp shows and things like that. And some of my friends have them. Trying to think of any other times that I've held them, but no, I haven't ever found one. I wish. No, I haven't been that lucky. I haven't done enough herping to be able to find a whole ton of stuff. That's a good question. I was like, a Woma in Australia?
Yeah, no, sorry. I mean, it happens, you know what I mean?
I found this one.
Oh, man. So, do you know who produced that then, or?
Yeah, it's Greg Power in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So Greg is a friend of mine who I never worked with him, but he's now working at I believe he's working at a reptile pet shop down there we're down there, up there in Dallas-Fort Worth. But that's who bred this animal here. Name is Greg Power.
Right.
Yeah. I forget his company's name. We can look it up later. I'll put it in the comment. But she's absolutely gorgeous. I don't have any complaints about her. I just can't wait for her to get big. Hurry up and grow.
I know. I love like the baby stages, but I also love like the full grown stages. And after a while, you're like, man, I wish you were a baby again. You were a bit easier to handle.
Yeah, in a way, they're obviously a lot easier, but sometimes babies are harder because they don't eat as well. But that's why I love colubrids so much, because they almost always eat. I can't even think of a time when any of my personal colubrids haven't eaten. Like, they're amazing, so no problems. But this one should be fine too. But what other snakes do you have yourself?
Right now, so I'm just like getting back into like really growing my collection right now. I have a axanthic green iguana.
Oh,
You know,
cool.
they go by blue iguanas. Then I have 2 reticulated pythons and this little Annie. I'm grabbing up another pickup next month, but that one's still a secret for now. So,
Oh, okay. I won't tell. We won't press you for the information. Well, cool. Before you know it, you'll have a big collection again. I've been there too. It's really kind of sad when you have to rebuild your collection, but it's also fun. You know what I mean? So we're happy to have what we have, but we always are growing. Always. I'll never stop. I was gonna say, I have a green iguana too.
For more diversity.
Yes.
I might do like scrubs down the road, possibly olive pythons. I really like just like the pythons from Indonesia and like Southeast Asia and Australia and Papua New Guinea. I really like that whole region. So they have some really interesting animals that are kind of like, I plan on getting an Asian water monitor down the road. So
that would be super cool. I would love to have a big monitor as well. Right now I have the tegu and then my iguana. I have an iguana too. My green iguana. She's just a normal green iguana. She's a female. And she was an animal I picked up about 10 years ago. I've had her for a long time. And she was an adult already, kind of a smaller adult, but we don't know her care whatsoever. She actually was hanging out at a flea market. And I walked through this flea market and there was an iguana in a big tank with no perching or anything. It was just like belly down to the ground. And I was like, why do you have an iguana with like that? Like, what is happening? So they were like, well, you know, we're looking for, I was like, okay, how much? Because I got to get this iguana out of here. Because clearly, you know, something's gonna happen to her. I didn't know who they were gonna sell her to. You know, I started having all this anxiety because I was thinking about, because iguanas are so, you know, people just don't have any idea. Number one, how big they get, their care. And I took her out of that situation. I've had her for 10 years. So she's one of my kind of OG reptiles that I've had for a long time. And she does programs now. She's actually a very calm green iguana. She does really well with handling, especially now.
So I'm all about trying to socialize my reptiles, you know, and get them like real tamed down with handling and not nervous. And I honestly, I've had iguanas as a kid, you know, but I did not plan on adding this one to my collection at all. But my sister told me, well, I'm probably getting rid of my iguana, you know, I don't have time for it. And I just know like not many people really will go and spend $50 a week in groceries for, you know, for one lizard, you know, but so I'm like, man.
Yep. We try to buy in bulk. We try to go to the, you know, the bulk store and buy everything because I've got all kinds of animals, obviously. So it's not too bad because we have so many. So we kind of like, you know what I mean? Like once you have so many, it's kind of like a system. You know, if you just have one or two, then it's like, oh, I got to go buy all the things. But it's really not. I mean, you get so used to having like the whole collection. It doesn't bother me at all. And it's not too bad. Our groceries aren't too expensive. You would think it was expensive, but we have a lot of donations as well and other things, which is nice. And I try to buy like my hay and my things like that in bulk, my feed in bulk. So it's not too bad. But it is an expense. I mean, people have no idea what an iguana needs usually. My iguana actually lives outside most of the year, which is great. So she can get all the sun and everything that way. But, you know, she has to live inside during the winter, and that's a pain in the butt. So
unfortunately, up here in Michigan, I can't do that. You know?
I know. That's a challenge. So what do you keep her in? I bet that's a challenge in cold weather.
Right now, I'm working on building her a bigger cage because I had picked one up and I got to tear it apart somehow because like this thing was like really intricately put together.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it's like wood glued and like everything, and it's big, and it wouldn't fit up like the stairs to get up here. I'm like, oh man! So I got to figure out how to saw it in half and then bracket it back together once I get it up here.
What a project!
Yeah, it'll be fun, but she'll definitely enjoy it. So
Oh yeah, it's so worth it. We ended up getting, well, for the outdoor enclosure, we ended up getting a great big chicken pen. It's like a big, nice, heavy-duty chicken coop. I have my tortoises outside. I have 2 redfoot tortoises, and the iguana and now the wood ducks live outside. They're all together in the same pen. It's a great big pen. So here's one of our arachnids, obviously. You can see her. The Antilles pink toe tarantula. We love having our tarantulas in the programs too. They're really fun. One thing that we do here once in a while as well, sorry to interrupt. One thing we also do once in a while is we do a lot of therapy with people that are afraid of animals too. So we have some spiders and snakes and things that are a little bit, easy to handle. We have like I used to have a rose hair, but we now have an Arizona blonde tarantula who people can hold, and she's very tame, and a whole bunch of snakes that are obviously very tame, like ball pythons and things.
So how often do you see like someone who's like terrified of a tarantula and like after handling it or whatever, after seeing it, they're like, oh my God, that it's not that bad, you know? How often do you see that?
Literally all the time. And I think, once people get to know them, especially like my reaction to them, I'm obviously not afraid of them myself. So you probably know this too, but you have a snake out and people go, oh my gosh, a snake, but you're not afraid of it. So you know what I mean? Like, why should they be afraid of it? And I've noticed too that a lot of adults are afraid of things, but most kids are not. So the kiddos will come up and they'll be interested, and the adults are like, spider or whatever. And then they kind of feel bad. Like they kind of feel like they're the ones that are being weird once they see everybody else is just acting fine. And also, of course, I'm not going to ever throw something on somebody or scare them or startle them with an animal. It's all very professional, of course. I learned a lot through the years how to handle animals in crowds and make everybody feel good. Sometimes you get things that go wrong every now and then, but I've never had anybody get bit. I've never had anything happen. So I think it's just kind of building a trust. But most of the time when people learn about them and, whatnot, then they figure out that they're not so bad. It's just a tarantula. It's not going to hurt you. Most tarantulas aren't even going to bother you at all. So, but some people are still afraid of them. But she's so pretty. I love the arboreal tarantulas. They're my favorite. They're easy to handle like that.
See, I've only handled me. I'm like the borderline of like the fear of spiders, but like not at the same time, because I've handled a rose-haired tarantula. I mean, most of the time, if I find a spider in the house, I'll take it outside. I'll use something to move it. But
yeah, there's nothing wrong with that as long as you're not hurting them, you know what I mean? And I talk to people about that all the time. Like, it's okay to be afraid of a certain animal as long as you're not going to hurt the animal. You can move away from the animal, but don't encourage your kids to be afraid of them. You encourage your kids to respect them instead, especially wildlife. Obviously, I don't want people running around catching up wildlife if they don't know what they're doing. That's terrible. Please don't do that. Leave it to the professionals, please. I'm not talking to a herpetologist. I'm talking to, the average person. I don't want anybody harming any animals, obviously, or themselves. But we want to teach people to respect them. There's a reason that they're there in the environment. There's a reason we have spiders, obviously. There's a reason for snakes, frogs, all the things, axolotls. So they belong there. We actually don't belong here in most environments, right? We're invasive too, and a lot of animals are invasive. So it's the best thing we can do is to just let them live their life, right? And like you said, shoo the spider out of your house instead of killing it. That's much better.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so, it would be a way easier world if people knew how to coexist a little bit better.
Yeah, that's part of our mission statement.
A little bit better of a place.
Well, and we're animals too. People forget a lot of times that we're part of this too. We're not just humans, we're part of the environment, and we're affecting the environment more than any other species on the planet. So we need to figure out a better way, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see any other species littering a ton of plastic into the ocean or...
Exactly. Exactly. Or, not just us affecting the environment, but we're also bringing other species that are affecting in the environment too. So humans are responsible for all kinds of invasive animals that are in the wrong place. That's horrible.
Feral cats, feral, invasive species. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Feral cats are one of the things I talk about.
That'll probably be a topic for a different time, though.
Yeah.
So I had a question. You mentioned that you went to school for zoology, and then we started talking endangered animals such as the this word kills me, axolotl. And so where do you think that with captive breeding that we could bring a healthy native population of certain species back that are on the brink of extinction?
For sure. I think that is being done already. There are so many success stories or stories in progress, at least, right? Like the axolotl, that's a good example. There's so many animals that absolutely need our help. That's something I learned and already knew, honestly, before working in zoos, but especially after working in zoos and aquariums and things, you see how much conservation is being done just with breeding alone. Breeding, like for example, San Antonio Zoo breeds and re-releases the Texas horn lizards, which are endangered right now. And that's a huge project that the San Antonio Zoo does. And I believe Dallas Zoo actually does that as well. In fact, I know they do. So zoos here in Texas with the Texas horned lizard, they're breeding them really well. I think it took a while to figure out how to breed them. I could be wrong, but it took a while how to breed them, consistently and well enough to be able to have enough population to re-release. And of course, they have to go make sure the environment's okay before they just take all these baby lizards and re-release them. But yeah, absolutely. I think it's very possible. There's so many animal success stories. You've got the black-footed ferret. You've got the some of the hoof stock over in Africa that were depleted in the Middle East, like some of the oryx and things like that totally pretty much were wiped out, extinct in the wild. And I think the same thing is going to happen with the axolotl. I think what's going to end up happening is we're going to have to re-release this animal in a different environment, in a similar river canal system. I think that's what they're going to be doing next, to be honest with you, because I think their homeland is actually no more. I don't think it's going to come back from what it was. But I mean, who knows? But yeah, absolutely. I think that's so important. I think that that reptile breeders help quite a bit, even in the pet trade, because we're putting less pressure on the wild animals, right? Everything used to be wild caught, and it was
imported in.
Yeah, everything was imported and wild caught. And, I'm not saying that's 100% wrong. I think sometimes it's necessary for genetics and things. I'm not against that. But I think a lot less is better because now, especially, some of those populations are not doing well at all. And also, nobody wants a wild caught anything anymore. I don't for animal in my home. So I'm very, very.
Yeah, I'd definitely rather take a captive bred animal anytime.
Oh, for sure. And that's what something I do want to kind of teach people is that's very old school. We learn from that. Even fish, like captive bred fish, are becoming more and more of a thing now because we've learned, from our old ways. Some fish can't really be bred in the care of humans, so it's harder. But everything used to be taken out of the wild back in the old days. So we've definitely advanced a lot in the zoological field, which is great.
Yeah, I'm happy. Past 2 centuries, I'd say we've advanced quite a bit, or two decades. Sorry, 20 years.
And that's something.
Years.
Oh, for sure. That's something too I want to also teach people about, because a lot of people are anti-zoo too that come and see me and they talk to me and they're like, oh, I don't want to go to a zoo because it's just whatever. And I'm like, well, they used to be kind of bad, but now they're much better. So we've learned a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, to answer your question.
I mean, most zoo animals are living their best life without worries. So
yes, they sure are. Most zoo animals in general and captive animals in general, not everybody, but in general, they live longer. They're doing better. They got less parasites, less diseases, all of that. I'm just going to pull out one more animal. I have one more. Right. I would show this little girl here. She's so cute.
What kind of chameleon is
This is a female Jackson chameleon. So this is Xantholophus Jackson's chameleon from Kenya, right? So this is a captive bred. Speaking of which, this one's captive bred out of Bill Strand over in California. He sent me a couple of these guys. I got a pair of them. I'm excited to have her. Her name is Janet, the Jackson's chameleon.
How much color change do you see in her? You just say it's pretty drastic.
Just before I boxed her up to bring her down to the studio, she was actually totally lime green a little while ago. So she's changing color because she's unsure about this situation. She's pretty new to me as well. She's under a year old. I've had her for a few months. And, you know, she's kind of looking around at her environment right now. And they do turn a lot more green as they age, as you may know. So the Jackson's chameleons of the Xantholophus, they are usually totally lime green unless they're a little bit upset or cold or something like that. But these guys don't get cold very often. They're cold weather species. But I love them. This is my favorite species of chameleon. I do have panther chameleons as well. So we have 2 Jacksons and 2 Panthers. I have a male Jackson's and a female Jackson's. The male is still pretty small. And then I have a blue bar ambalomie panther chameleon. He's beautiful. And then I also have an Mbanja panther chameleon who is gorgeous. He is blue and purple, but he is very, very moody. He's not really a handleable animal. Like you can, but he's like running away from you the whole time. Whereas Jackson's just kind of like chill. I love the Jacksons. They're so cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. We love our chameleons. Chameleons are my favorite lizards as far as to talk about and teach people about.
See, I've always been tempted to, but I don't know why I haven't yet. I just remember like wanting one so bad when I was a kid, you know. My mom's like, no, they're really difficult to take care of. We probably shouldn't get one. And like still to this day, I've had like not really as big of an interest in getting one anymore. I don't know why. You know, it's just
you could do it.
Something
I think now.
that I definitely want to add because they're unique. They're very unique.
They're definitely really delicate and they're a lot of work. But to me, if you set them up correctly and you're doing everything that you should be doing, they're pretty easy. But they don't live very long and they don't, you know, they definitely aren't an easy lizard. They do have a lot of health issues that they can pick up. I like the Jacksons the best. I think they have the least health issues. Them and the Panthers. Panthers are pretty good too. But the Jacksons are easy to house because they're a little smaller as well. They don't get much bigger than what she is. Just a little bit bigger than this. And they're live bearers, which are really fun. So if I decide to breed this pair of Jackson chameleons, we'll have some live babies, which is really exciting. I would love to do that. What do you do?
Yeah, I actually, I think there's a viral video last year that was going around of like I don't know what species of chameleon it was, but it had given birth and like this baby was like falling down onto the leaves and then it just like ripped one. I don't know if you know which video I'm talking about, but it was like really cool to watch.
I think so. There's a couple of them, but I think I know the one you're talking about. They're so cool to watch have babies. I've seen it before. I actually, when I first got started professionally with reptiles, was in a pet store. I used to work at a local pet shop here in San Antonio, and I was in charge. I worked there first, and then I advanced up into being their reptile and small mammal and exotics kind of specialist there. So they noticed how good of a job I was doing with my husbandry and everything. And I've always been like really, really clean and I try to make sure everything's researched properly. Anyway, but one of the Jackson chameleon females came in from our distributor and she was gravid. So a whole bunch of babies were born there at the shop and I took them all home to raise them up. So that was fun. But we didn't, a lot of times they come in gravid because they're wild caught or farm raised and they'll come in, you know, and the thing about these guys is they will mate once, they'll breed once, and then they'll be able to re-implant the sperm so they can have several pregnancies and several litters from one breeding. So you can get tons of babies of these guys. So you never know when they're going to have a ton of them. So she's never been with a male yet. But I'm going to wait for her to get a little bit older before I even try anything. And the male is really tiny right now. So that's not going to happen yet. We'll see. Stay tuned. Once in a while.
Well, I really hope that works out for you guys.
Yeah, that'd be fun. It'd be a lot of fun.
Was there we're coming up on like our hour mark, and I try to keep these like an hour long because, you know, people have the attention span of goldfish most of the time.
I understand.
So,
That's okay.
So is there anything else you wanted to kind of touch base on when you were?
Sure. Sure. If anybody wants to find us, it's just onceinawild.com. I can leave that information with you as well at the end. I don't know if you want to put it in the description or anything like that, but it's just onceinawild.com. We're on Facebook and YouTube, and we do live streams every Wednesday. And that's going to be Central Time at 6:30 p.m. Every Wednesday, we do a free program. We just did one yesterday. I went on for almost 2 hours for whatever reason. I was losing my mind, but people had a lot of questions. So I pretty much just start at 6:30 and see how long people want to watch. Yesterday, we talked about animal myths and misconceptions. So that was fun. And like you said before, we're doing a lot of collaboration. So the best way to kind of keep up with us is going to be our Facebook and Instagram. So that's going to be Once in a Wild on Facebook. And then on Instagram, we're at Once in a Wild Zoo because Once in a Wild was already taken on Instagram, so we had to add the word zoo. But if you want to find all of that, it's actually at onceinawild.com. If you guys want a Zoom encounter, we do custom Zoom encounters. And of course, you can just tune into our free live stream shows if you want to. I know you're way out of state, but if anybody watching is from Texas, let me know if you want an in-person program as well. We're doing those again too. So yeah, I think that's it. We'd love to see you guys on one of our programs.
All right. Well, yeah, thanks for joining us. And I'll make sure I add those in the description because when you go live on YouTube, you can't edit for like 12 hours or something it takes.
That's true. It's okay. Yeah, no worries. So, just onceinawild.com. That's the easiest thing to remember.
All right. Well, yeah, definitely. Thanks for coming on tonight. And I'll make sure I get this posted up at some point tomorrow on Facebook and everything else. So
that sounds great. I appreciate you having me on, and it was a lot of fun. It was very easy. I think our axolotl has left us, but our chameleon has gone to sleep. Look at that.
Yeah, I noticed that he kind of slowly, within the last 2 minutes, just kind of disappeared off.
Yeah, they're very nocturnal. They're not nocturnal at all. They go straight to sleep at night. So she's ready for bed, just like me. But thank you.
All right, thank you. You have a good night.
You too. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
All right, bye. All right, guys. So tune in next week. Let me see who we're having on real quick. I believe next week we are having Chawa back on, so make sure you guys stay tuned in for that, and we look forward to seeing you. Have a good night.